and heartfelt welcome to everyone. I'm Ashwin Fernandez, Regional Director for MENA and South Asia at QS Intelligence Unit and CEO for QS IGAUGE Rating, speaking to you live from the Garden City of Bengaluru. I'm privileged to be part of this launch, which is a first and unique initiative with schools in India. To join me on this occasion, we have Chief Guest Professor T.V. Kattimani, who is a member of the committee to the Draft National Education Policy 2020. A warm welcome to Professor Kattimani. A warm welcome as well to Mr. Nunzio Quacquarelli, who's the founder and CEO of QS, who's joining us from the UK and going to be delivering the keynote address shortly. I also take this opportunity to welcome all our panelists who will be introduced to the audience in due course. And a grand welcome to all our attendees joining us on YouTube for this live streaming session and live launch from India and different parts of the world. We would like to welcome all of you. If it's the first time you're joining our channel on YouTube, please click on the subscribe button and hit on the bell icon to receive future updates. Just a quick introduction to QS before I move to the next segment of the launch. We were established in 1990 at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. We are an education-focused organization, and we've been producing the prestigious annual QS World University Rankings since 2004. Our work is referenced by several global agencies, governments, and think tanks. Our mission at QS is to enable motivated people anywhere in the world to fulfill their potential to educational achievement, international mobility, and career development. Our values include passion, integrity, innovation, empowerment, diversity, and collaboration, and we live by it every day. QS IGAUGE was established in India in 2017 and was officially inaugurated by the former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, in March 2018. As we speak today, you probably might already be aware that the Honorable former President is fighting a serious medical condition, and our prayers are with him for a speedy recovery. Get well soon, sir. We really admire your passion and your patronage and your support for us and for the country as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, QS IGAUGE Rating is a quality assessment framework that conducts a holistic and in-depth assessment so far of colleges and universities pan-India. QS IGAUGE was established in India as a joint venture between QS Quacquarelli Simmons UK and ERA Foundation in India to provide professional services to the education domain. As an organization, our charter is primarily education and related services. Our aim is to become the trusted advisor for institutions in India through our quality assessment services and many other initiatives linked to that. The organization is backed by a group of individuals who are tirelessly working to ensure we consistently deliver meaningful outcomes to our universities and stakeholders. We're based out of Bangalore, and I'm joined by the entire team today virtually. My thanks to the entire team for the relentless efforts in all our initiatives. We live by the team motto, which is one team, one dream. So schools are an integral part of the education system, and they play a key role in the lives of students. The contribution of schools has a direct and indirect impact on the key stakeholders and parents. With the launch of what today was started as an idea in our minds last year about schools has culminated into a professional offering today. It is a special and historic moment for us, ladies and gentlemen, to innovate something for schools in India. A lot of research work, market study, innovative concepts have gone into building a quality assessment framework. With the launch of NEP 2020, the guidelines and directives were extremely helpful in building a methodology structured on these key parameters. So now let me introduce our keynote speaker for the day and our founder, our visionary, who has not only founded QS, but given us the path to move ahead. I would like to invite Mr. Nunzio Quacquarelli, who joins us live from the UK to deliver his keynote address. But before that, let me share a quick bio about Nunzio. Besides being the founder and the CEO of QS today, Previously, he has done his MBA from the Wharton School after gaining an MA at the University of Cambridge. He's a member of the advisory board for the Wharton Center for Advanced Studies in Management. He is committed to the example of social responsible leadership and has established the QS Education Trust in 2005, providing scholarships to socially responsible business leaders of the future. Nunzio is also the co-founder of the Reimagine Education Awards. He has many more accolades, and it would probably take me much more time to read out all of them to you. So I put that on the slide for you. And now I would like to invite Nunzio to make his keynote address and to welcome all of you. Over to you, Nunzio.
Thank you very much, Ashwin, and also my opportunity to thank everyone for joining this virtual event today. I'm only sorry that it has to be virtual and that I can't be present in India. I've always had a very close association with India, even from early childhood, when I had many friends in the UK of Indian descent, and QS has always been heavily involved with India, and I love the fact that, and I hope that we can continue to make a contribution to the development and evolution of the Indian educational system. So thank you for joining us. Let me also thank all the expert speakers who are joining us today to contribute their knowledge in this field. And I'd also like to recognize and thank the QS IGAUGE joint venture team in India, who've done an excellent job of implementing QS IGAUGE Indian college and university ratings over the last couple of years. It's really, I think, established itself as a highly trusted and respected quality assurance system. Over 90 institutions have already been rated, and it's continually improving its methodologies and systems for evaluating universities and colleges. So doing an excellent job. So today's event is to mark the launch of the new initiative, which is a schools rating system produced by IGAUGE for the Indian market. And I think it's quite right to ask the question, why is QS becoming involved in the schools domain when we've concentrated to now in the university domain? And I think that I would point to our mission, which has remained unchanged since 1990, which is to enable motivated people anywhere in the world to fulfill their potential through educational achievement, international mobility, and career development. And we take that mission very seriously. We're a socially responsible enterprise. Everything we do is driven by that mission. And as we engage with institutions, with parents and students, we try to identify new things that we can do that respond to that mission. And I think that this project of quality assurance in Indian schools is bang on that mission, and which is why we support this initiative. I think our experience also over the years has shown us that high quality trusted ratings and rankings really make a huge difference for students and parents in enabling them to make really informed and trusted decisions. So we do a lot of research of our student audience to evaluate how they use our tools compared to other assets. And we understand just how important young people and their parents regard ratings and evaluations that are really in-depth and trusted. Our recent student survey in 2020, which was only completed about 2 or 3 months ago in the midst of the pandemic, showed that 92% of responding students would actively recommend QS to their friends and families, which is, I think, a testament to the work we do as an organization and why we have 70 million people that visit our websites every year. And obviously, we've built that reputation on international activities like the QS World University Rankings and the QS Star Ratings. But because of the importance of India and the mission-led contribution we felt we could make, we supported the establishment of QS IGAUGE as a domestic tool to enable Indian students and parents to make decisions for their university and college choice. And why do you need a ratings when we're already producing rankings? Well, I think that ratings do quite a different job from rankings. Rankings certainly grab the attention, but ratings help to shine a light on excellent institutions, which for whatever reason can't appear at the top of rankings lists. They verify a much richer set of institutional data than is possible with the ranking. They provide deeper insight, and they also set thresholds for quality for each data set, encouraging institutions to improve and to reach the next level. That's why, as an organization, we believe ratings are so important. And what Ashwin and the IGAUGE team have identified is that there are no such rating systems available for schools in India at present to support student and parental choice. There are various rankings, in fact, but they're not providing that really trusted quality assessment that can drive student and parental choice, but also institutional improvement, so that the schools in India know benchmarks against their other peers and have a clear insight of how they need to improve year on year. And our research has also covered the Indian schools market, and what it's told us is that schools in India have a real desire to improve. They're not satisfied with the status quo. They aspire to promote innovation, competency-based learning, and offer interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary curricula. So there's a real appetite for this service. And I think the catalyst has been the launch of the National Executive Policy by the Ministry of Education in India, which has put an increased focus on the adoption of NEP guidelines, and is calling for a huge transformation of the education sector. And as a result, the QS IGAUGE school rating methodology is strongly aligned with the NEP guidelines, providing an opportunity for holistic evaluation of their systems and processes. So the ratings outcomes will provide a roadmap highlighting areas of strength and offer real insight into areas of development for schools, very much in line with our university and college rating system. The mission of QS has remained unchanged for the last 30 years. I've been working in this field for 30 years, and I really understand the value of valuable, trusted data to inform strategic planning. And I think that as the colleges and schools that and universities that are using IGAUGE are finding, so schools will find that the data that results from the IGAUGE school rating system will really help them inform their roadmaps for improvement in the future and drive an increase in standards in the sector. So it's with great delight, therefore, that I formally announce the launch of QS IGAUGE school ratings in India, and I look forward to coming back in the years to come to observe, comment, and report in its progress. And I'd like to thank all of you who have contributed to the development of the methodology and the expertise you shared in this formulation. So finally, I'd just like to thank our keynote speaker, Professor Katimani. He is a member of the committee that drafted the National Education Policy, NEP 2020, and he was instrumental in making several recommendations to the policy on issues related to the underprivileged segment of society, with particular focus on the country's tribal population. His insights to the committee became a basis to formulate the policy on educating the underprivileged. And again, that aligns with QS commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals, and so we're really proud to be associated with that. In addition, I think you're going to have a very interesting panel later on in this session, and I'd like to thank all the panelists for taking part. So thank you to Mrs. Bhattacharya from Kolkata, Mrs. Srinivasan from Mumbai, Mrs. Sahu from Delhi, and Mrs. Ghosh from Noida. So once again, thank you for joining us today, and our best wishes to all of you in this time of pandemic. And back to Ashwin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nunzio. And the time has come now to introduce our chief guest for the day. And our chief guest today is Professor T.V. Katimani, who's the member for the Draft National Education Policy 2020, an exceptional educationist who has done several state visits with the Honorable President of India in the past. He was also the Vice Chancellor of the Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, has been the Dean of several other prestigious universities, has guided 36 research scholars, has been appointed as honorary editor, columnist, and member of editorial boards of several magazines. He's also bestowed with the very prestigious Karnataka Rajyotsava Award for Education in 2016. Sir, we're really privileged to have you with us. We thank you for taking time, and over to you to make your remarks, sir.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Yunjo Kokoreli, Dr. Ashwin Fernandez, Honorable panelists and friends. I'm happy to share my views on the dais of QSI GAUGE and ERA Foundation. Yes, national education policy is in the air. The whole world, especially India, Bharat, is very seriously discussing about our future, our nation, and our national education policy. National education policy has four domains. First one is school education. Second one is higher education. Third one is the other key areas. And fourth is making it happen. I would like to put my some points regarding school education in India. Mr. Kokoreli, you must know, you may be knowing about Bharat, India. 60% of our population still practices agriculture. The main focus of their livelihood depends upon agriculture. 70% of our population lives in villages. Our textbooks, our textbooks will be prepared from mostly NCERT, which is situated in Delhi, or my part of Karnataka. My mother tongue is Karnataka, and I live in a rural part of the Dharwad, middle part of Karnataka. Our textbooks will be prepared by our state textbook board sitting in Bangalore. The result is nowhere in our textbooks from first standard to degree, the real India, the rural India, the specialization of our rural part. I mean, the soft power of India never reflects in the textbooks. So NEP has taken this, and we must introduce something native, something about India from school education itself. Here in school education, early childhood care and education, it is foundation of learning. And second one, foundational literacy, especially literacy and numeracy. Curtailing dropout rates. The dropout rate is a very big rate where I served as vice chancellor in Amarkantak, eastern part of Madhya Pradesh. The dropout rate is more than 60% in the level of primary school. Curriculum and pedagogy in schools must be holistic as well as integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. But the first and foremost thing is NEP is student-centric, then immediately teacher-centric also. Teachers are the most important pillars of any education. Teachers must be comfortable, happily, with well paid, concentration on their own duties. They should be engaged with the students, and they should be continuously trained. Continuously, they should be ready to learn. Lifelong learning first comes to teachers. At the same time, learning for everybody. It is NEP proposes equitable and inclusive education policy, efficient resourcing, and effective governance too. We hope the NEP propose school complexes and clusters. So by doing this, standard setting and accreditation for school education. Now, school education is accreditable. Now, QSI GAUGE can do something in the in this area. Quality primary education is the prime goal of NAP. What is that primary, quality primary education? The primary education must be in their respective mother tongue, state languages, and students should be able to know the concepts of the subject. Something must be about their own village, their own peasantry, their buffaloes, their husbandry, their mother, their father, their own environment, their lakes, their well, the water, importance of water, the rearing structure, their gods, their devotees, their festivals. These things should be part of textbook, an integral part of core subject of the textbooks. By introducing such things, very important things, students will be comfortable with the textbook, comfortable with the teacher, comfortable with the environment of the school. Yes, what I am saying, that is there in my school. School must be like an environment which is already available in my home, in my temple, in my playground, in my neighborhood. This is at the same time, after fifth, somewhere skill related issues should be discussed. Skill related issues should be introduced. This is my personal, belief. The skills of Indian society should be part of our textbooks. For example, pottery should be part of our textbook. Carpentry should be there. Blacksmith part should be there. Goldsmith should be there. Electrician, plumbing, cooking, housekeeping, honeybee keeping, gardening. It means these things, these small things, we can somewhere plan to establish a small lab by collecting some money in the local itself, and we can display, we can discuss with the students. Yes, plumber is doing this thing, blacksmith is doing this thing. We can keep our house like this. Gardening also, by doing this, we may have very practical classes, sessions to develop our own gardens in schools. These are all, in fact, 21st century skills of the world. 21st century skills means life skills, even how to prepare chai, how to prepare tea, how to prepare food, how to wash utensils. These are the 21st century skills. Teachers must be very quality teachers must be there. What is that quality teachers? Teachers, in fact, always teachers are very well qualified. But the thing is, teachers must be ready to accept the standards of the students, because the level of students in India is heterogeneous. From first bench to last bench, there are so many cultures, there are so many languages, there are so many economic standards, there are so many social standards, there are so many linguistic barriers. By knowing this, a teacher must know these limitations, or I can say these specialities, and he or she should be try to bring the backbenchers along with the first benchers. So quality teachers, in NEP, it is suggested continuous upgradation of teachers is necessary. The principal, the headmaster, the vice chancellor, or any head of the institute must take care of their teachers. They should be continuously sent for upgradation, They should be ready to learn new skills, new ideas, and innovative skills too. At the same time, infrastructure must be little bit quality, must be useful. At the same time, the infrastructure must be local. Infrastructure must be local. I have a point to say about here. See, in a tribal village, a concrete building will not attract the students. A building with bamboos, a building with material used from the nearby forest and the ground with cow dung will be more attractive to the students from the area. So, infrastructure must be good. Not only that, infrastructure must be par with the environment. At the same time, the students must be ready to continue their higher education towards upper side. The primary school student should be mentally, physically ready to go to high school. High school student must be ready to go to mid plus two schools, colleges. Then that plus two student must be ready to go to colleges. College student must be ready to go and go to PG universities. University students or college students must be ready to learn many skills, many more skills, new skills, and research must go together. So, continuation of education is also equally important. Another most important dynamics is Indian knowledge system must be included in our educational system. What is that Indian knowledge system? See, we have a wonderful knowledge system in our own society. I would like to quote one example regarding one great scientist of India who is third standard dropout. But the society of India has honored him as he is Indian Thomas Alva Edison. The August gathering must know about Gopal Swami Doraiswamy Naidu, who was a school dropout of third standard, but he has invented kerosene run fan, projection TV, mechanical calculator, bus ticket vending machine, electric razor, the first electric motor, much before Lakshman Rao Kirloskar. Establishment of Indian first polytechnic college in the year 1945. You will be happy to know Sir C.V. Raman, Nobel laureate, has gone to Coimbatore to meet this Naidu. The great engineer Sir M. Ishweshwaraya has asked an appointment to meet Mr. Naidu. Now, is there any reference in our textbooks regarding this Naidu, Gopal Swami Doraiswamy Naidu? No. So, NEP proposes that such innovations may be called as frugal innovators of India should be included in textbooks, should be taught in classroom, should be the stories of these great innovators. I proposed this thing to DST, Department of Science and Technology, that these innovators should be called as natural scientists of our nation. This is how our curriculum can be made more Indianized, curriculum can be converted into more innovative, and teachers also will be more comfortable because we are teaching the Indian ethos, Indian values, Indian scientists, Indian innovators. This is how national education policy is trying to bring more flexibility, more dynamism in the primary education, and it's continued to higher education also. Innovations should be part of even primary school. Accreditation also needed. Now we have to go for accreditation. Earlier, colleges and universities and higher studies, institution of higher studies used to go to accreditation, NAC, this, that. But now the time has come. Our primary schools, our middle schools, our high schools must be prepared ourselves, themselves for the accreditation, so that recognition, so that the innovative part of our school, innovative part of our institution should be shown to the world, should be shown to the neighborhood, should be shown to the other people. Or, a primary school in a remote village, if it is doing very good, I have seen such good schools who are doing extremely good in science, but they are residing in a very remote tribal village. They are remoting in a very remote hill area, but they have all lab facilities. It is only because of the innovative nature, the creativity of the teachers, creativity of a single teacher, creativity of two teachers, creativity of the principal, headmaster. It is possible to establish a small lab in a remote corner village. It's possible. Our Indian teachers are very hardworking, innovative, and at the same time, they are ready to learn. NEP has suggested other than academic work should not be given to our teachers. Teachers should be given freedom to deal with education, deal with the textbook, deal with the students, deal with the capacity building of the society. This is how NEP has taken care of the welfare of the teachers, the innovative character, to save the innovative character of Indian teachers are most important. That is how NEP has suggested. By telling something, I feel proud that the institution which Dr. Fernandez has invited me and invited a learned panel to discuss the issues. I have something told to you, which can, from this point, we can take up the discussion further. I thank the institute. At the same time, I thank the organizers with my profound respect. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir, for those really wonderful remarks, and we are privileged that everyone can on YouTube can listen to you and our panelists as well here. So we are very touched. So now the time has come, Professor Kattimani, if you remain on video, we would like to have you to do the virtual ribbon cutting ceremony. We would have loved to do this in person, but we can't. So we try to incorporate technology and do this. So what we have here is, when I request Professor Kattimani, by the use of his keyboard, by pressing any of the arrow keys at the moment, to launch the QS IGAUGE school ratings. So Professor Kattimani, if you could do that, please. Thank you so much, sir. And this is kind of what we could do in a virtual frame, but we are more privileged to have you and have this great panel, our founder here today. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining the first part of the ceremony. I would now like to invite my colleague, Ms. Prachi Mishra, to take over and do the next part of the session and give you more information on QS IGAUGE and then introduce the panel.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, and a very good evening to all of you. So we've heard some really interesting insights from Mr. Nanzio and Professor Katimani on the relevance and need for ratings in school education, and also how NEP has brought about significant recommendations for bringing inclusivity and assist all stakeholders, which are school administrators, students, teachers, and parents in making informed decisions, and also give them scope of upgradation and innovation. So I would now move on to give you an overview of the QS IGAUGE school rating methodology, which will be the key highlights of what we have integrated from the NEP and what is the core crux of the methodology that we have developed. Starting with the relevance of school ratings and why it has been really significant for QS IGAUGE to work on this particular methodology, I would like to say that it's the first professional school rating initiative in the school education domain. So it really makes it a unique effort. And it also gives an opportunity for national schools to gain international visibility. Then moving forward, as it has already been stated in the discussion so far, that the school ratings will also assist institutions in assessing their strengths and identifying their areas of improvement. And it will also enable parents and students to make informed decisions when they're selecting their institution. So moving on to the categories and the points that are allotted to each of these criteria. The methodology comprises of 6 core criteria, which is further subcategorized into teaching and learning, which is 150 points, competency development for 100 points, resources and facilities for 150 points, social responsibility and sensitization for 160 points, public health and safety for 140 points, and academic facilitator for 100 points. So this makes a total of 800 points for the core criteria. Now moving on to the specialized criteria, any institution who is undergoing an audit will select any of these 2 from internationalization, skill development, e-learning, and performing arts or extracurricular activities. So each of these indicators hold 100 points. So the total comes to 200 for specialized criteria. And the grand total for this methodology is 1,000 points. Now moving on to the rating outcomes, this is a badge system that we follow here. So any institution scoring 25% or above will get a bronze, 40% and above silver, 55% and above gold, 75% and above diamond, and 90% and above a platinum badge. And it is important to note that in this total score of 1,000 points, the data analysis is a combination of the institution's self-reported data and the survey which will be conducted with parents, students, and faculty of the institution. And to get a platinum badge in the overall rating outcome, the institution must have a diamond badge in all the categories. Now moving on to the NEP highlights and integration with school rating. I would like to bring out some of the key points that we have kept in mind while developing this methodology and have tried to integrate the new NEP 2020 recommendations into the school rating methodology. So some of these features are the transformation in education structure, which is now 5 + 3 + 3 + 4. Enhanced focus on interdisciplinary skills, which Professor Katimani was also talking about right now, 21st century skills like critical thinking, problem solving, life skills. Then competency-based education, focus on mental and physical health and also well-being of students and how they acquire their skills. Innovative pedagogy, experiential learning, integrated technology, bringing in indigenous knowledge and all of these other issues. School leadership with focus on teachers' continuous professional development. This has also been a key feature of the methodology, where we have tried to ensure that we capture the professional development aspect of faculty. So these have been some of the key highlights that we have integrated with the school ratings. Of course, there are a lot many as we go in and deeper into each of the subcategories. Now, moving on to the core criteria, I would like to just give a brief overview of some of the key highlights that each of those subcategories have in them. First is teaching and learning, where some of the key aspects are technology integrated teaching, digitization of teaching and learning processes, classroom management, best practices in teaching and learning. The second core criteria, which is competency development, focuses on higher order thinking skills, continuous professional development of the faculty, team building, and academic freedom, both for the faculty and the students. Resources and facilities focus on IT services in the school, Tinkering Lab, which focuses more on how the school is integrating innovation and making students think out of the box, health and nutrition, and facilities for differently abled. Social responsibility and sensitization focuses on social involvement of the students and the faculty, environmental impact, gender sensitization, and social empowerment. Public health and safety focuses on public health awareness, psychological and mental health, accessibility, and emergency response team within the institution. And the last core criteria, which is academic facilitator, focuses on retention rate, satisfaction of the faculty with the institution, research, articles, and publication by the faculty, and leadership and administration within the institution. Moving on to the specialized criteria, internationalization subcategory focuses on exchange students and collaborations between institutions. Skill development focus on a skill development center and what the center's activities are, and integration of essential skills. E-learning readiness focuses on digital services and online teaching and development. And last, performing arts and extracurricular indicator focuses on accolades in scholarship and centers of excellence established within the institution. So with this, we conclude the brief overview of the school rating methodology. If you wish to receive a copy of the methodology, you can visit us on www.igauge.in, or you can connect with us on hello@igauge.in. And with this, I conclude the presentation. And I would like to now move on to the panel discussion, where I invite Professor Paddy, who is moderating today's session, and our esteemed panelists to please come on board and begin the panel discussion for today. Over to you, Paddy.
Thank you, Prachi. May I call upon all the panelists to switch on the video, please? Thank you. I'm extremely grateful to Nunzio, Professor Kachimani, Ashwin, for actually making this happen. And I have a strong feeling that existence of QS IGAUGE in university and school rating should be hand in hand, and it is very important that we move in this direction. I'm going to run the panel in this format. First, I would introduce each of the individual panelists with a brief introduction, and then I would hand over 3-minute opening remarks, and we would move on to cover all the 4 panelists, and then we will switch to the Q&A question. If there's any doubts, you could ask me now, or I can just proceed with this format. Is this the format is clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I introduce the panelists, first of all, very warm welcome to all the panelists. Ms. Brapati, Brinda, Revati ma'am, Suchitra ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today. I have all known you personally, and I have been interacting with you for the last few years, and this is the best part where I could actually, interact with you at the school level, and we could actually see how schools could, meet the expectations that is actually, listed out in MEP. During the course of my panel discussion, we will have some Q&A, and I would also want to let the panel members know that we should restrict the answers for not more than 2 minutes, maximum is 2 minutes. So first panelist that I'm going to introduce today is Ms. Pratati Bhattacharya. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and coming to the panel discussion. Mrs. Pratati, ma'am, is currently serving as the Secretary General of the Shiksha Foundation, Kolkata. It is also worthy mentioning that ma'am, during her college days, was the Governor's Gold Medal in B.Ed from the Jadavpur University. And I should also mention that ma'am worked her way out from being a teacher to a vice principal, then a principal, and currently being the Secretary General and CEO of Shiksha Foundation. And it is also worth mentioning that Shiksha Foundation School was established in 1954. And to add to the accolades of ma'am has been awarded the Indian Iconic Educationist Award. She has also been awarded as the Inspiring Best Teacher, and there are many more awards, which madam has to her record. We want to extend a very warm welcome to you, ma'am, and thank you so much for accepting, the invitation and being part of this panel discussion. Ma'am, you're aware that we have had two important paradigm shift that actually has hit us in the school education. One, the COVID-19. Never we would have thought that digitization in education would have gone this far, had COVID not impacted, as much as it is impacting today. And education sector is the most impacted of all the sectors. So at one side, we have the COVID pushing the education online, digitizing the education online. The other side is the new pragmatic approach of the national education policy, which is being adopted, which is now making the schools to think beyond the knowledge-based education system. Ma'am, your opening remarks.
Okay, let me first greet everybody. Good afternoon to all of you, or maybe good evening to everybody, to Nunzio, to Professor Kuttimani, to Paddy, and to all my, the panelists, Ashwin and Prachi. Now, we have all been hit by COVID-19. That is something, we have seen. But before that, let me tell you that what we were facing was from 2014, we've been hearing about this 21st century skills, and we need to get prepared for these skills. And this digitization was coming, but we never knew that it would come and it would just be sitting on our table, and overnight our teachers would be actually changing themselves so fast and adapting. So two things we saw was, one was the change which came and adapting to this particular change, and how the skills were developed in this last 4 months. And this national education policy, which you've been hearing as a draft last year, and now it is confirmed and, it has come to us. Now, when we talk about digitization, the skills that we are talking of, it is just not only students, but it is also everyone coming on board. That means it is our teachers, our parents, our management, and even the service providers. So all of them have to come on board to use this skill. Now, when I, simplify this skill also talks about, communication, because I need to do a lot of I need to have a lot of connections to communicate and inform all these people on board. So it cannot just happen that, there is a technology and I just use it for the purpose of just substitution of my classes. So here, who is very important is our resources. That means our teachers. So first of all, the skill has to be developed among the teachers, because once the teachers develop these skills, we can pass it on to our students, and, along with our students, our parents, and definitely having an infrastructure to help us. So there will be a curriculum, that means a content which has to be developed to use this digitization, and the pedagogy, that means, what methodology I'm going to use so that I can keep all my students engaged. Because I think this is something which we've been talking about, that how to keep students engaged. And it is not something, which, okay, I just open a class, a virtual class, and I start speaking, and, students are there. So how do I do that? So all these skills have to be developed. Apart from that, what Professor Katimani just said, that, how we can bring in skills like gardening and, critical thinking. So I was just reading today one such person, called Mr. Raghavan. He probably expired, today, and he has been having a garden which is on his terrace, and probably he has about 150 plants which he has grown, and he's been using aquarium water to plant this. So this is a skill which we need to develop even among our students. When we see a gardener can make a gardener, unless the gardener is skilled to see how seeds are grown, the gardener will not be able to move forward to make it successful. So if we can introduce such skills, within our classroom, and have our curriculum where we can teach biology, through, gardening. We can teach physics when we are doing carpentry. So if I'm interested, say for instance, in games, I can use a game class also for, teaching science subjects. So if I may say that we've been talking about STEAM, where we say that, okay, we need to develop science, technology, aesthetic, and, engineering and mathematics, we can all put together in building concepts and probably teaching the subject concept-wise and bringing things together, and we can take students to different places of liking and making the most of it. And I think this is one way where we can put them together and make, this learning more learner-centric and interesting. And this digitization has basically helped us to use constructivism as one method, where the child becomes a self-directed learner. So slowly, the child also learns with the, own pace. And this is something which digitalization has helped us. So I may, again, if I can put things together, that yes, we have to have the skills. Along with the skills, we can use this digital India, which we've been thinking of, but digital India cannot happen if we do not invest in our teachers, in our students, and also our parents. So these resources have to be fully utilized to make it successful. Then only I think we can move forward. I think I now pass it on to, unless you have some questions, and I can talk about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for touching on the integration of technology in education, especially in school. And I think that's a critical need of the hour. Thank you so much, ma'am. We will come back to you on the Q&A session. Next, I would want to introduce Ms. Brinda Ghosh, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. And ma'am also has a qualification in MA and BH. But I also want to mention that Ms. Brinda Ghosh is highly acclaimed, accomplished educationist. She also holds a Cambridge International Diploma for Teachers and Trainers from Cambridge, London, besides a postgraduate diploma in English literature. Ma'am also very unique distinction. Ma'am did found. I'm aware of both the schools that Madam founded as founding principal. One is the JG International School in Ahmedabad. The other one was the Ecole Global International School in Dehradun. I visited both of the schools. I've interacted with the students. The energy of the students in both of these schools is immense, and I know what Madam has installed. And it is no surprise for me when I saw Ma'am was heading a new school called the Gyanshri School, which is a progressive K-12 school. And the vision of the school is very interesting for me. I quote, we prepared our children for a rapidly changing world by equipping them with critical thinking skills, a global perspective, and a respect for core values, which all three of them I did know because I have been interacting with ma'am for a long time now. Ma'am, over to you, and probably you could reflect a bit upon how are you planning to integrate the ideologies of NEP with your school.
Thank you, Paddy, for your introduction. I just want to make one little correction. Gyanshri, when I took over, was not completely new. It was already 3 years old. But yes, you could say that I'm taking the school along and building it up. As far as the NEP is concerned, I must say that, the draft of the NEP looks extremely doable extremely practical, and also it is something that should have happened, and it should happen. Now there are a lot of the the points in the NEP, or I would like to say that there are a lot of categories of the NEP which have already been incorporated in a lot of progressive schools like ours. For instance, if we talk about, NEP talks about integrating subjects. NEP talks about integrating co-curricular activities with the main curricular activities. NEP talks about not working entirely for marks, which is assessment for learning. And NEP also talks about how we can have a multidisciplinary approach right across, not only in the primary school, but right across to the senior school. And of course, experiential learning, which I think is something that even the CBSE has started working very seriously on experiential learning. They have platforms for the training of the teachers. And I think that's a very, very welcome sign, because all learning that happens in school or in college has got to be linked to life. If learning is not linked to the life that our children lead, then it is of really no consequence to the children. So as, in fact, Professor Katimani was talking about it, and he did mention that children need to be exposed to the land that they belong to what is the speciality of the area that they have been brought up in. And they really need to know and appreciate these things. We, of course, have a little bit of, not a little bit, but a big problem as far as India as a country is concerned in introducing the mother tongue as the medium of language for the in the primary school, much as we would like to, and we all as educators know that there is no better way of really being educated than to start with education in the mother tongue. But what of a country like India, where people keep moving from state to state, and then mixed marriages like my own? Will my son learn in Tamil, which happens to be the mother tongue of his mother, or in Bengali, which happens to be the mother tongue of his father? So what is mother tongue really then? And will he study the local language? And he might, we might move from one state, the parents might move from one state to the other. So how is this problem going to be tackled is a question that many, many of us have. And this is something that needs to be, of course, addressed. But coming to the other salient features, like introduction of experiential learning as one of the main forms of learning, and giving children this experience of really feeling, of going through something, reflecting on what they're doing, and then conceptualizing it. That is something which is really very interesting. And I think what the NEP has said about not making the exams really matter as far as marks is concerned, but to see whether the children have really learned the concept, that is important. And I think in schools like ours, this is what we are trying desperately to focus on, because it is very important for all stakeholders to understand that what the child learns once in the classroom has got to be for life. A lifelong learner not only learns throughout the life, but a lifelong learner doesn't forget basic concepts and can transfer concepts learned in one area in the class to other areas. So this is something that has to happen in school. And this multidisciplinary approach will make it happen, because when you link the subjects and when you start off with something like a thematic learning scheme in the junior school, and then you continue to correlate one subject with the other right through school, then the child will be able to transfer the basic elements, the fundamentals of one subject to another subject, and be able to absorb and learn that much better and transfer this into life. That is, the skills that he's learned would be used practically in life, whether it is in the play field or whether he's, what is the use of him going out there to play if he doesn't know the rules and regulations, and if a cricketer knows something about the physics of bowling and how his ball is going to reach in a certain angle, then I think he would make a better cricketer than anything else. Or if a chef has really experienced in the kitchen what he needs to do and knows by mixing what spices will he get the results that he wants? Or would he be able to just look at something and say, I think this probably needs a little more salt? Has he got that experience? And that experience comes only when children are taught to experience it in school, and when parents are also motivated to allow children to experiment. And I think that is the time that we are facing today. We can tell parents, please allow your children to experiment. Please let them explore. Let them explore in the kitchen. Let them explore, with the washing in the house. Let them explore with the cutting of the vegetables. And I think this is what ultimately will make the child develop his character, will make the child know what exactly he or she should be doing. I mean, this is my personal connect with the NEP. And I love the fact that, application of learning is something that is being emphasized on. Because if we haven't applied what we have learned, then we haven't learned. So I think it's very, very important that we focus on the application part of the learning. It's not about just, I'm not condemning rote learning. Rote learning has its place in education, in the classroom, in certain aspects. But just to learn by rote in order to get that 90, or today I should say 100% in the examination, does not make a child a brilliant child or the most intelligent child. I think the way he can or she can apply what has been learned in the classroom to a situation in life really determines what the child has learned and has imbibed and has been able to kind of store it in him and use it when it is necessary. That is, apply it in life too. And that, I think, should be the purpose. Besides that, there's a lot of emphasis in the NEP on ethical learning, on letting the children know what Indianism is all about. And I think that is very, very good, because at the end of the day, I think the purpose of education should be to create good human beings, to make them into good citizens. So our value education cannot be a standoff half-an-hour class, in the week. Values have to be built in the classroom, in every class, in every subject area. And if value building becomes the core, fundamental, essential of a school curriculum, I think we've reached. We would have made a huge difference in the lives of the children if we are able to morally tune them to do what is right and build them into responsible citizens. Please feel free to tell me if I'm overshooting my time. You did say 3 minutes, right? Because there's a lot that we could talk about as far as, if we focus on formative assessment more and more and less on the summative assessment, then I think it'll make a huge difference to the children. If we focus on communication skills, and if we are able to interlink the communication with all the other subjects that they are studying, again, we would have made a difference in the lives of the children. And I think this is what is important for us to grab from the NEP and to inculcate all those things. And very, very important, teachers' development. If we focus on continuous development of the teachers, as it is put down on paper, if that really happens, if the NEP is introduced in phases, if the school principals and the teachers undergo this training and there's a change in the mindset, it's like a religious change, because everybody's got to be on board. And unless you are ready to accept this change, it cannot happen. You have to have a change in your mindset that this is the best way, and the teachers have to be trained. And this training cannot be a one-session training. It's got to be continuous. In-service training has come to stay, and it should happen in a very, very informed and calculated way, so that our teachers first benefit from this and they're able to then impart, what is expected of them to the children. And training also should extend to the parent community so that they understand they are the biggest stakeholders with us in school. They need to understand why we are doing the things that we are doing. How is it going to bear results for them? And these results will, of course, be very, very evident. They will be palpable if we go about it the right way and if our teachers get the right kind of training to impart this. And I'm very happy to say that we've already started a lot of this. A lot of these aspects have been taken care of in the school that I'm teaching in. And I'm happy that NEP has come with all these points also. And I'm looking forward to these points becoming more effective as far as practicality is concerned. Thank you.
Ma'am, indeed, you made my work easier by touching on all the points which,
You asked me how NEP has affected me, so I had to tell you these.
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. And not only that, you just spoken about my methodology, which we have created to assess schools, which actually touches upon all these aspects, in its entirety. And thank you so much for emphasizing on continuous professional development for teachers, which I also feel is significantly important for schools as we move forward. Now we have the next speaker for today is Principal Ma'am, Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya Ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am has 2 decades of experience in teaching. Ma'am belongs to Army fraternity, so ma'am has been moving from different places. But I think ma'am's accolade is also is that she's a trained classical singer as well as a Bharatanatyam dancer. I thought it's important because we're talking about interdisciplinarity. We are talking about emphasis on skills. So. I think ma'am's vision for the school is also very interesting. Currently, madam is principal Manav Rachna International School, Faridabad. The vision of the school is very, very interesting for me too. The vision which I really wanted to read out is to generate integrated focus on academics, services, supports, opportunities that will lead to improved student learning, string of family bonding, and healthier communities. We are seeing how NEP is focusing, and shifting that students should also become socially change makers, or what we call as the social change makers. So I absolutely understand how the school is aligning to it, to itself in terms of skills, in terms of community bonding. Ma'am, over to you, ma'am, your reflections and your initial remarks.
Thank you so much. In fact, both my panel friends have already given such details about the NEP. I think they've generally covered. One thing that I would like to say is we need to be very positive about it. Nothing drastic change which has not been happening in the education sector has come in. Frankly speaking, talking to even the senior students, a couple of days back, I was just interacting with the class 12 children. And I was asking them if they know anything about what NEP says. And you will be surprised to know that all the children were so much aware of what's happening on what is NEP. That was the best part of it. There were many children who came up and said, ma'am, why didn't it come 2 years before? I said, what is it that you were missing? The only thing that they emphasized was the combination of subjects. As of now, I think the digitization that what Bratati ma'am said, I think we teachers, the teaching faculty has proved what resilience means, what we could do, from where to where we could shift. I think that was an excellent thing that we could have come. The gap that we had filled because of this COVID. That's a wonderful story we can say in the history of COVID, the paradigm shift in the education sector that has taken place. And I think that was possible because of the constant training, the mindset that the teachers have. So as NEP dictates that teachers training is a must, I think it's been happening. However, now it's going to be emphasized and it's going to be seen that everywhere across the country, we have this. To come back to what I was talking about, my students, they feel that the combination of subjects, we know science means a very good, bright child. Commerce is okay, though the mentality has changed quite a bit. However, the general psychology of people is science, good students, commerce, okay, and humanities is the one who are not so good. That mindset will absolutely change with the new NEP. A child can take up anything. And as Katimani sir was saying, the vocational training, that has been such a necessity. We've seen in the westernized culture, I think Nunzio sir will be able to tell us even more about it, that did exist there, whereas we did not have it. And I think a child who used to take up painting or music or physical education, we felt always that, okay, maybe the child has got some issues, oblique, some maybe down the line, maybe the child is not very good in academics. That mindset also will change. So these two changes that is going to come, which is come in writing now. Though we, as Ghosh ma'am was saying, in many progressive schools, we've been doing everything. Whatever they are saying, we have been, I mean, the NEP says, we have been doing it. However, since this is coming now in the policy, it is the mindset that will change. And I am sure with the progressive attitude of the students and even parents these days are very much aware. In fact, many a times they are a little too much aware. However, the awareness is, there lies the duty of the school heads, the teachers, to project these things. And I think we need to have a positive attitude, because the NEP is actually had been long awaited document which came after 34 years, and the policy aims to achieve 100% youth and adult literacy. So it aims basically to have a gross enrollment ratio in the higher education, including the vocational education. So the dropouts will decrease because of the assessment system. The dropouts decrease means, and choice of subjects will give in more enrollment in the higher education. Another thing that has come up is that credit, which a child can now keep. I think there also we need, because of our I'm not talking of only the affluent class or the city life students. I'm talking of in general. We have seen many a times it's a necessity that a child drops a year. But all this time, we did not have a scope unless and until the child went for open university, which is again being very much emphasized on this NEP. That open school does not necessarily mean once again the child is not good. So all these progressive thought in going in for open university, allowing the credits, incorporating any subjects, any combination, any subjects. And another phase which is very important, which I would like to mention about the Angarwadi schools, the preschooling. I think this is something excellent that has come, and now we will see more enrollment in this particular section also. Because once again, I'll deal why I'm saying this. I will not emphasize on only because most of us are from the privatized schools, and we've got educated parents, and therefore conscientious parents, I would like to say, if not educated, everyone I would consider to be coming up to that stage. However, conscientious parents do send it. But now with the NEP, with the emphasis on more preschool arrangements, I think we will definitely come up to a good response where little children will be enrolling themselves in the school. But yes, even if I would just I'm just going, not mentioning all ma'am, Ghosh madam and Bratati ma'am said, I'm just trying to cover up the other portion. The finance, the budget that has come, I think many of us will have to accept that not many intelligent students come in this profession. Initially, most of it is seen that teachers are not teachers by choice, but by chance. At the same time, we also have to agree that any teacher who stays in a school for 3 years or more, it becomes a profession by choice. So we are all definitely by choice in this profession, and all teachers who are teaching. However, when we see that there will be emphasis on teachers training, there will be emphasis on the education in the infrastructure. I think government has taken a wonderful step in it. We have to see that full utilization is done on whatever has been secluded for the education, the amount that has been given to the education. So that utilization has to be done, and we have to see that we go in for absolute, we follow it in a perfect manner, be it the curriculum, be it the dropouts, be it the creative subjects, combination, the multiple exit and entry, all these things we need to ensure that we take full care to see that these are implemented. And I think the vision is very clear. It is, as I said, it's nothing new what has been happening, of course, with an emphasis on what should be happening and what was happening only in some portion. Now that everyone will have to follow the NEP, I think we are heading to a wonderful progress in the education sector, and it will definitely, with the digitization, with the blended classroom, with the exposure of the other artisans and all the other vocational training, I think we are heading to an excellent upgradation of our involvement of students, involvement of the number, what is the basic intention of the NEP. We are definitely going to reach a wonderful target. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much. I hope I have justified your question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your emphasis on academic freedom, which is very close to my heart, is absolutely valid. Ma'am, very recently in the month of March, India as a country was evaluated by international agency for what is called as the Academic Freedom Index. And India didn't do well at all. You know, we talk about academic freedom, you know, the kind of freedom we install in the hands of teachers and also in the hands of students when it comes to either the selection of courses or the methodology of assessment. But that academic freedom in the institutions, both at the higher education system and the school education system, was not at all in existence. I think the NEP's idea of creating flexibility in course curriculum, while a student could do history, but she could also think about music, while a student might be interested in math, but he could also be thinking about history, I think is a very welcoming note. You know, at least it would help India to do well in the coming years when it comes to academic freedom and the Academic Freedom Index. But that's a very valid point, and thank you so much for articulating that point, ma'am. Just to go forward, we have the next speaker for today. That is Ms. Revati Srinivasan. I had visited the school, Singania School, last year. I should say that the school is flooded with so much of energy and so much of students. I think currently it hosts more than 6,400 students from KG to class 12. And ma'am has also has decades of experience in school administration. She's also, a passionate educationist. She's a management graduate holding specialized degree in education management, early child development, and an MPhil also. She conducts training programs on for schools on leadership skills, and I've known ma'am because she also writes regularly on education in national newspapers and has also contributed a book on education and parenting. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and to come on this panel. I really wanted to quote the vision of the school, which I thought is also interesting, which I've been doing for all schools: to educate students to excel as human beings and be better than the best in all fields of activities, which I think is what is called as the holistic education, which I think NEP is talking so much about. Ma'am, the forum is yours, and we really wanted to hear your initial remarks. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Paddy. Yes, my school is Srimati Sulochana Devi Singhania School, when we have almost 6,500 children. The numbers don't matter anymore, but I think what matters is what children carry home with them at the end of the day. What are the kind of pleasant experiences that they carry home? And I think the very crux of learning is, are they having fun? Are they able to laugh at the end of the day? That's more important. Is their curiosity satiated? So if we answer all the three questions in the positive, your child will want to come back to school the next day. Otherwise, they're going to be looking forward to the weekend. I'm sure if the NEP, the way it has been conceptualized, is quite a comprehensive document, working towards the development of education across the country, not just in the metros or in tier 1 and 2 towns and villages, but also the smaller places. If that really happens, then I'm sure we can be having a truly educated country. So that's my point. And I'd like to say over here, when we talk about education, everyone keeps talking about qualifications. Education is not equal to qualifications. You can be qualified, but you need not be educated. So you won't have people spitting on the road if they were educated enough. You won't have people troubling the neighbors, throwing the rubbish off their windows if they were educated enough. I'm sure that because I think it has been so beautifully covered by all the speakers, I'm now going to come to the harsh reality. So my aspect of dealing with the whole thing is going to come with reality and real facts. So I think if we are able to turn that around, then we can talk about a country that we are proud of. And I think that's where I come from. When it comes to education, it means deeper learning. पढ़ लिख कर ज्ञानी बनने से पहले इंसान बनो. And I think if you put that really in words in English, it's what Paddy was trying to say. It's so important for us to bring a human element in our education. And that is why I felt certain aspects of this education policy were beautiful. One, that they have regularized education at the pre-primary level. It was an unregulated body. So even in flats, in small houses, in small godowns, there would be a pre-primary school started. Now there would be kind of a regulation where you will have quality education even at that level. And when I say even at that level, I'm using the word even because people use it. And in fact, we don't understand that it's at that level that true education matters more than at 16 and 17. Because at 16 and 17, our children will learn by themselves. But at 3 and 4, it is a first step towards learning the right kind of values and the purpose of education. And the purpose of education is knowledge or understanding something and being able to exhibit the right kind of behavior. That is very, very important. That is why values and value building is the crux of living. To me, I think it plays a very important role, and therefore I like that. The second aspect of NEP is about the flexibility of subjects. Why are students going out of the country to study? And the only answer that they have is because they have a choice of subjects. They have a flexibility of subjects. They understand that their parents may be coughing up quite a bit more. They understand there's a financial difficulty. They may even take a loan to go. But the reason they go abroad is because they can choose the right kind of subject. And if Indian universities start offering that, it'll be wonderful. We have been having a very tunnel-like approach to education, be it in school level or in higher education. We ask the students, of course, I know of many of the boards in India have now given the flexibility, even the national boards as well as the international board, gives flexibility to students to choose a subject. But you know why the child doesn't take a biology with a visual arts? Because he thinks if he does that and he takes a physics on one side and he may take, say, history on the other, he won't do that. Because when he enters the higher education, you are not from the mainstream. You're not in the mainstream. Where is the physics, chemistry, bio? Where is the chemistry? So chemistry is not there. So he won't get admission. So automatically parents start choosing science, commerce, and humanities. And I think long back, we should have left that behind. But anyway, it's never too late. So let's just make an entry. Multiple entry and exit for those students who are unable to do it at the right time and complete it at a stretch. That's again a very good vision that we have. One of the visions I really liked is the emphasis on vocational training. Students must know simple things. How do I fit a bulb? The most romantic era of our living is, I think, done. We have people to work for us. Our children will not have. We have offices to work where we have people who will serve us water. Our children will work from their laptops. The laptop will be their office. And they'll work individually. We don't need only people with the white-collar jobs. We need a caretaker. We need an empathizer. We need a pattern recognizer. These are the unusual careers that we are talking about. And how do we develop that skills? You have to develop those skills right when they are in school. And that's why school education now is going to be so important, and it is going to be beyond marks, I hope. And the third aspect, which I agree upon, is use of the mother tongue. I think that was one part which is recalibrated in a big way. That is the language part of it. And I think it's a very good way, because everyone will understand that we understand our mother tongue the best. No matter where we are, children do connect. But at the same time, is it practical? We all come as cosmopolitan families, not just in cities, but also in towns. And how do they adapt? Second is, what is aspirational for me? Can we ask the village students? Let me tell you, I've done a lot of work with the government of Maharashtra with their rural schools. I've helped them convert, follow an ICSE curriculum even in their government school. And I've traveled to the length and breadth of Maharashtra interiors I'm talking about. And when we were doing the selection of schools for giving them international education, we realized how ambitious they were. And when we asked them, why do you want your school to be an international school? You know what they said? They said, we also want international education. We want to speak in English. We want to use technology. We want to go abroad to do our higher education. Where did that child, who is in such a small village, which has no connections, have these aspirations? So he's seeing something, he's watching and he's inspired. Why are we, keeping that aspiration away? Let them aspire, but they have to work towards that. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not wrong to aspire. It's not, and allow that aspiration to become a reality. If we as teachers are able to do it, I think we have done a fantastic job. That's what is most important. So I think by the way of assessments, by the way of skill training, if we all start concentrating on that, make living or skills required for living more important. Can my child fix a bulb, or do you have to call somebody to fix the bulb in your house? Am I able to sew my button, or do I have to call out to mama to do that for me? Okay. Or do I have to switch on my laptop working from working from New York, asking mama, how is this potato curry made? And she gives step-by-step instructions. Can we move out of that? And I don't think I need a laptop also to see how the thing is made. I think I just have to use my senses to do it. Simple things of living is what is most important. Above everything, mental health. Are we going to build in our schools a culture of inclusivity, where there is culture of care, compassion, and understanding? If we build that in our schools, we build a great school. Because when that happens, and I'm not talking about just care, compassion, I'm talking about a culture that we build, a culture of self-reflection, a culture of care and compassion, a culture of inclusion. When we have that, you will have a culture of mindfulness. And when that happens, you will have a school that you're proud of. Then you don't need a policy to guide you. All that you need are people who will join you. And for that, you need an open mind, a mind as open as a parachute, and open it up. And I think for this, all of us have to be together, all the stakeholders, the child, the student, the parent, the teachers, the government, all of us have to work together with that common goal. If I see a purpose in what I do, if I know the why of how I'm going to do it, I'm sure meaningful education happens, because education is about giving wings to fly, yet roots to be completely rooted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for articulating two very strong points, which are also very close to my area of research. One is, how can school create a pluralistic environment for, interaction? We are talking about India moving towards the LGBTQ. We're talking about the disabled-friendly environments. We're talking about equitable and inclusive education. But, you're absolutely right. We don't need policies for these things. We just need to be more open-minded in accepting and being very rational about that we are part and they're indeed part of the mainstream society. And I also like your comments on which made on the power of language. I think the interesting bit of NEP when it comes to multilingualism and power of languages, it is not only giving access to students to learn their mother tongue, but also any foreign language or any other language which they really want to integrate in their mainstream education. I think that is very interesting for me, because I think that flexibility is important. If you see the state board schools, they tend to offer the languages which are which are actually formulated by that particular state, and you don't have that flexibility. I think this flexibility is going to actually help students in terms of building that multilingualism and the power of language, which any Now I'll quickly move on to the Q&A session. We might not have time for a longer Q&A, so I will be asking one question to a panelist, and then we will probably reflect. In no order, I'm just going to ask the first question to Suchitra ma'am. The first question that I really wanted to articulate this to you. Ma'am, NEP is requiring schools to create mechanisms for social engagement. If you see, what it is basically saying is that how schools should become an integral part of social engagement. Be it participation of students in NSS or NCC or Youth Wing of Indian Red Cross. These are all listed down and very exhaustively discussed under the NEP. But my question to you would be, what might be the other ways to engage students through this, what we call as the social engagement? Are you experimenting such things in your school? So this is my question to you.
In fact, why, as I said, I would like to again insist on the fact that it's not that just because NEP has come up now, we are going to do it. It has been already, I mean, we are already doing such activities. We basically in our school, I'm sure many of you, my panel members will also agree, we believe in whole child education. What is whole child education? It is the education cannot be complete unless and until the society, the community, the parents, the surroundings is taken into consideration. So we do practice. In fact, now we would even more emphasize on the fact now that the policy is here, even parents will agree that taking care of the locality, taking care of going to the hospitals, taking care of or paying respect to the people as at present, the doctors, though children are not allowed because the situation is such that no one should be coming out of the house. However, whatever possible through virtual mode, we are trying to inculcate this attitude in the students that how much grateful they should be to this fraternity, to this group who are actually giving their life and taking care of the patients. In fact, even when their lockdown was totally followed by each and everyone in the country, there were people working in the ground, cleaning our roads. How much gratitude we can pay to them. So this is done in the virtual mode. But of course, once the school reopens, I am sure we'll enhance this, what we've been doing, keeping your area clean. What is the problem? The children can just go, maybe take an occasion, go out and ensure that the area where they live in or the school is located in whichever area, they can clean up. Children are taught in the school to take such responsibilities. I think we are all at it, and we are going to emphasize it more now, that you need to be independently doing your own work. The self-service in the food, in the restaurants, or like in your food area, that's excellent. In fact, many schools I know, we are encouraging children to wash their utensils and keep it in the place. At least a preliminary wash is done. Later on, there we have people. So cleaning the classroom, that is how we start with. And then, of course, community service, taking care of the traffic. I have seen many schools taking the children, giving them the duty of controlling the traffic, of course, taking all precautionary measures. So such things, if we keep on inculcating, or if we keep encouraging these things, I think the children enjoy this. frankly speaking, they love it. Going to a slum area and teaching small children, distributing things which is required, I think they enjoy it so much. And this way we can give in their responsibility. As Srinivasan ma'am said, inclusive education, we had already started that. A child helping another child who is not as privileged as him, I think that is an excellent way to develop empathy, sympathy, or whatever we may say. So it's a dual process. The child who is not so privileged is learning, and the child who is God gifted is also sharing and understanding the other one who needs help. So such way we will inculcate even these qualities in them. And as I said, we need the society to be with us. We need the community to be with us. We need the parents to be with us. And I think together, all of us, if we guide the children, today's youth is very clear about what they want. They have a very good clarity about what is there, what they should do. So we elders, we need to be just beside them. I have strong faith in the youth of the country. We've got the biggest number of youth is India. I think India can utilize this power. And if we guide them, we are just felicitators, standing beside them, guiding them. I think we will go a long distance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You're absolutely right. To bring about a change or for students to, engage socially, I think they also need to first internalize that mechanism. You're absolutely right. You can't be a social change maker if you're not going to internalize those attributes, within yourself. And I agree with you on that, how you have been encouraging students to go and engage in community programs. That's a welcoming note. Let me move on to the next panelist, ma'am. Ratati ma'am, I always wanted to ask you this question. NEP's policy envisions that schools to move on the skill development aspects, be it to enhance their ethics or innovation or adaptability. When I was part of higher education system, and I was founding faculty of OP General, one of the issues that I confronted when students came to higher education was with the issue of plagiarism. So they didn't understand what academic honesty is, what is the integrity of writing. How do you think, in the current setup of NEP, which is, asking students to think about or the skills that they need to enhance when it comes to ethics or innovation and adaptability, how do you think, institutions or schools can incorporate the same and raise to the occasion which the NEP policy is envisioning?
Mike.
Okay, we talked about value system. One of the panelists talked about the value system, and you're talking about an academic integrity that we need to inculcate amongst our students. And during this COVID time, many of the schools and even colleges, they are facing this problem that how do they assess the students? Because if they assess the students, there are most chances that students will be looking at some books or, some taking help. So, we've been also discussing such things within the, campus. So, my thing was that let the students look at things, doesn't matter. What we need to see is that what kind of questioning are we doing to the students? So the ethical part, is taken care of. So, and when we are talking about skills, it automatically comes that when you are skilling the child is able to answer such questions through experience. There is no set answer. And this is something, what I think NEP is also saying, that, it is not that one size fits all. So we should also be open to things like there is no such thing as, there is one answer. In India, we have the system of, describing everything. So we don't have questions where a child can interpret an answer and reply to it. So this is one part of ethical or academic integrity that we are talking of at the moment when we are assessing a child. The other part, what I think we've been talking about skilling is, which probably I should have said earlier, is that, making the child self-reliant. This is something is also part of our NEP, is that how do you make, and we've been talking about, Atma Nirbhar India, or, entrepreneurship, where you become self-reliant. So you are basically, in yourself, the confidence is there, which helps you to also ethically move forward. And when you're doing this, see, whatever today what is our objective? We have been, this NEP has come. The main objective is that our children are not linked with the different levels of education. That means when we are studying in the schools are not linked with the college education. The college is not linked with the university education. Because one of the panelists mentioned that, why are the children not willing to take up subjects, vocational subjects, because they are not accepted by the university. So they all have to come on the same board, where the university also accept such subjects, and it becomes it is at same par with the other subjects. And the other point is that whatever we are teaching, it has to be linked with employment. Our teaching is not linked with employment. So when the students are studying and going to, for employment, the employer is saying that the student is not ready. Why is not the student ready? The student is not ready because our curriculum is not matched with what the employer wants. So there is a big gap out there. So I think when you fill up these gaps, when people go for internship, when people are going for such kind of experiences, automatically, to answer your question, these things are taken care of. If I answer to your question, if you have, I don't know
absolutely,
whether
ma'am. Absolutely. You have hit the nail on the head. You did mention about, I agree with you when you said that it's not that we should not give accessibility to students when it comes to how they are taking up the exam, but it's how you frame the question itself. How do you make the question more application oriented? How you make the question more skill oriented is going to help you in addressing the question of plagiarism, and not by asking questions which are directly a question which could be answered using a book. So I think I absolutely agree with you. That I think was also my personal experience when I went to study abroad. I think the questions were it was all open book exam, so we could refer to anything and everything, but at the end of the day, they were not testing on the knowledge, they were testing on application of the knowledge. I think that was what I got from your input, and I think that is also important when we look at the assessment innovations that the NEP is asking. I think they're also wanting schools to move in that direction, move from as Brinda ma'am also was mentioning, move from submissive to formative kind of assessments, which is going to integrate more feedback to students, and I think that is going to get the better learning outcomes. So you're absolutely right, ma'am. Thank you so much for actually I would say connecting ethics, integrity to assessment. Thank you so much, ma'am. The question I have for the panelist, the next panelist, is Revati ma'am. I would just quickly come to you. I was digging, where did NEP got its vision from? What is the model that it was actually trying to, enunciate? And, I was looking at the study which was conducted and submitted by UNESCO in 1996 called Learning, the Treasure Within, and that study was very inspiring for me because it articulates the 4 core pillars of education, which are basically learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. So it basically captures all 4 important aspects of NEP, which we are talking about: flexibility, or learning to live with community, or learning to do, which is more skill based. So my question to you is, one thing which is very common to all these 4 foundation, be it learning to do, learning to know, learning to live together, or learning to be is the multidisciplinary approach towards learning. How do you think schools can actually, go in inculcating the same? Because I think, it involves a lot of cross-disciplinary experience, and it also involves more training for a faculty, because when you're teaching science, it is also important to teach the history of science, or scientific innovations. How do you think the teachers are prepared with that kind of a knowledge, or do you think there needs to be some training and development that needs to take place?
I would like to answer it this way. There are schools that are progressive, which are already doing things on this line. But one answer to all of this, and the first and the best way to get teachers come together to bring in about an integrated approach along with a multidisciplinary approach, would be experiential learning. When you put them into action, and children will see the purpose of doing what they're doing, and therefore they will start linking things themselves. But I think for this, a little bit of training is required for the teachers. They must know how to link one subject to the other. It is, and a lot comes from incidental learning as well. You take the children out to the ground, they're learning from observation, they're learning from, analysis, they're learning from just discussion, and a whole lot of things happen. Now, it is the responsibility of the teacher to be able to connect all that the children have been doing. So basically, you have to start thinking in terms of, are you building their knowledge? Are you building their attitudes? Are you building their skills? And are you setting up their habits? When you have put all of them together, I call it cash with a K. And I think all of us are fond of cash. So if it is like that, I'm fond of the K with the knowledge, attitudes, skills, and habits will make interdisciplinary approach possible. Cash will also become an outcome, and it's also an input. Because if you start looking at it like that, then automatically teachers will come together to find an answer to many of the solutions. But for that, the teacher requires a lot of exposure. There has to be absolute intellectual discussions in our staff rooms. Our staff room, it is not about having formal training that's going to matter. It's also the informal interactions that teachers will start seeing the linkages. And that's very important for them to do. Even doing projects should be interlinked. That's the best way. When you're doing a project with your child with a project-based method, link the project as one project, interlinking all the subjects. Are we discussing what's happening outside in our classrooms? Link it with others. So when you take a problem, then you will find solutions from the social angle, from the economic angle, from the political angle, from the educational angle, from the societal angle. You have dealt with the problem from all angles. Then you start looking at solutions together. That's how integrated approach happens. We have to make our people think that way. Children have to think just like how we tell children to think in the language they're going to speak. That's how children should start thinking also differently. They have to start thinking with a multidisciplinary approach. The teachers should think with a multidisciplinary. I always encourage my teachers to talk to each other. Now, for example, a lot of chapters in your geography are linked with biology or with environmental science. One teacher touches all the three subjects. And then you don't have to repeat the topic individually. So you don't have to compartmentalize it. You just have to, it's not silo-based anymore. It has to be a multidisciplinary integrated approach. Today's learning is all about that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I do completely endorse your words as far as cash approach, and also the fact that multidisciplinary is happening in some places, and how teachers could be trained for further developing that skill when it comes to teaching. So, ma'am, I just want to quickly move to Brinda, ma'am. This question has been pondering me for a long time now. If you have to integrate experiential learning to a mainstream curriculum, you need to invest in a lot of, like, for example, you may have to construct certain labs inside the school which will help students understand or experience, or you may have to take students to field visits. Ma'am, you have had a lot of experience in experiential learning. So can you tell me, ma'am, how do you think the schools could best integrate experiential learning with the mainstream curriculum?
Yeah, I think this is a It's a myth to think that you need to spend on labs in order to have experiential learning integrated into your curriculum. Your curriculum needs to be designed in such a way that we are looking at experiential learning at all levels, right from the pre-primary up to class 12. So it needs a lot of innovation and creativity on the part of the teacher who's planning the lesson, of course. But what do we understand by experiential learning is something that is very important, because experiential learning doesn't really mean experimenting, doing something, in a practical manner and then making them do it in the lab or outside on the ground and things like that. No, experience learning is about making the child actually understand what is he learning, why is he learning, and how is he learning. The experience of learning in itself is experiential learning. So when we talk about experiential learning, it is everything that the child is going to do in the class is an experience. The way he comes to school in the morning is an experience. So why do we need a lab to give him that experience? So, my co-panelists were talking about, I think Revati mentioned about being happy. The tagline of my school is to discover the joy of learning. So the joy that they must feel in doing every little thing that is connected with their learning is the experience. So for a child in kindergarten, holding a color, a crayon correctly is an experience. To feel the textures of what they're working with is an experience. And as they grow from class to class, from age to age, the level of experience differs. And experiential learning is not something that we are talking about or we haven't discovered it. This has been the crux of all kinds of education. If you look at Maria Montessori, what did she talk about? She talked about nothing except experiential learning in the classroom, giving the children all kinds of experiences. There are so many others who have touched upon this, so many educational theories on this. John Dewey says that school is actually a replica of a society, and how you should live in a society and how you actually live in a society is the experience that a child gains even in a classroom. So when we are talking about experiential learning, it is about how to be confident, how to be able to express yourselves, how to be able to talk about your feelings. Can you do all that too? And how do we develop those aspects of the children? And we can only do that if we think about how we should do it. So it's a whole lot of thinking that goes into the process of planning the curriculum. We need to give the children those situations. We need to create those possibilities in the areas that we work in, inside of our class, outside of our class. And only when we create these experiences, we've got to actually visualize it. Can we visualize what is it that the child is going through? Because it's a fact that unless your child is mentally prepared to learn, no learning is going to happen. So first of all, is that experience a joyful experience for the child, so that the child comes back willingly, ready to learn the next day? That's part of your experiential learning. How are you going to create that joy in the class? Are you going to give them toffees every day to bribe them to come to class? Or is your class going to be such a happy situation that the child tells a mother in the morning, "Aaj mujhe school jana hai. I have a temperature. It doesn't matter. My teacher is going to do something so interesting in school today. I just can't miss it." So when we talk about experience, it's not about only the textual experience or the experience of doing, some calculation or learning about the clouds or the water cycle or any of such things. It is about experiencing everything, feeling everything. It's about being able to communicate your feelings also. So I think that bringing experiential learning into the class is easy to do if you give it a thought. The teacher's got to give it a big, big thought. How is she going to build in that experience? A lot of time we think that experiential learning may be, acha, aaj we are going to do a lesson on vegetables. So let me bring 2 vegetables and I let the children see the vegetable, and I maybe at most make the children feel the vegetable, and that's my experiential learning. No, that isn't. When we are talking about connecting to society, when we are talking about engaging in the society, all that involves experience. All that involves how the mind is going to be developed with that experience. Where does a human nature develop unless you give the children that experience? The child has to undergo that experience. The child has to undergo the experience of empathy. How do we develop that feeling of empathy in a child if he hasn't experienced it in the classroom situation? So, I think that it actually, when you ask the question to Bhartari, I was thinking that it takes actually a village to educate the child. So the experiences are not limited to school alone. The experiences extend beyond school. What kind of a home background has the child come from? That experience is going to reflect in what the child is going to do in the classroom. And a very watchful and vigilant teacher is required to see why is a child behaving the way that child is behaving? What has his experience been like? And can there be a change in the experience that the child has had? So you see, it's a lot of dynamics that we need to take care of when we plan all this. It's not about teaching in an innovative way that I take my science class outside and show them, how water vapor is created, or I bring something into the class and just tell them that this is the way vapor is created, and then, the condensation takes place or whatever. So it's very demanding, and it needs a very thoughtful planning to bring in experiential learning, but it is not difficult. It is all about being watchful. It is about understanding that this is what the children need to know at this stage. It's got to be age appropriate, definitely. Sometimes a lot of us, there is this concept that you stretch the ability of the child. Yes, you can stretch it to a certain extent, but we all know that when you stretch an elastic band, it will break if you stretch it beyond its limit of taking it. So we need to see what is the experience we need to give the child, age appropriate. Experience of taking a test. Why should the experience of taking a test be limited to an announced test, to a test which is based only on a particular part of a chapter? Can the child not be given the experience that he's going through a test all the time? He takes it in his stride. I come from a school, my first school where I taught in and I got all my training, had no examinations till class 8. And they, ultimately in class 10, the kind of results that they produced were mind-boggling because they had no fear of facing an examination. And that's, I think NEP is kind of suggesting to us that remove this fear of examination, remove this craze for getting that 100% marks. Do you mean to say that children, especially this year, the kind of hundreds that they have got in the CBSE examination, are those children actually brilliant or super intelligent? I'm sorry to say they aren't. And we are giving the children, unfortunately, a misconception about their abilities. And I think we need to counter all this. We really need to think that what is the examination experience going to be like? Because these are the experiences that the child will grow up with, and his ultimate character will be formed based on the kind of experiences that you have. You talked about plagiarism. I attended a talk very recently by Sugato Mitra. And he said a very interesting thing when people were asking him, about tests and how do you test during this online education period. He said, there's a very simple thing. You give the child any question, he's going to refer to the Google, which is going to be so quick at, and he will have the right answer before you can even finish your question. So he says, why don't you devise questions which nobody knows the answers to and give it to the children and let them explore and find out? That's the challenge. Are we willing to take? Can we really, push our children to explore and find what is not readily available in a textbook, answers which his parent or his teacher is not going to give him readily, but he explores to find those answers. Can we create such questions? That's a challenge. That's really something that we all need to think about, because our examinations at the end are all based on what is there. Yes, Revati, I can see your hand up.
I just wanted to share with you and my experiences. For the past 14 years, we conduct tests not based on content, but
absolutely.
on
Teachers evaluate children on a continuous basis. We are not a test-oriented evaluator at all. And I think it's not just what the child knows of the content that is important to be evaluated. I think it's very important to notice and see, how does a child behave with his peers? Okay, does he have that sociability? We're talking about social skills. Today we have adversity skill. Is he able to take something? What is his emotional quotient like? Can he take a failure? He comes last in a race. Is he going to be so upset that he doesn't come to school the next day? And the father says, "Ma'am, usko certificate dila do, please dila do. Wo pata nahi wo itna heartbroken ho gaya hai." You have parents coming and telling you, "Ma'am, wo kuch kar lega." Kuch nahi karega. It all depends upon how have you handled your child right from the beginning. Have you given the children this this emotional experience of handling joy, of handling sorrow with equanimity? There are a lot of schools of thought which say, don't talk to children about sorrow, don't talk to them about death. Why not? They're living in a real world. And they need to be exposed to this, not forcefully. And there are some wonderful, wonderful ways of doing it. And you have books which introduce them through stories, or you can create so many situations. And I think this is what really education is about.
It's not you wanted to comment.
Actually, what I wanted to say was, if you can give equal opportunities, this is something, what she's saying is that, when you are allowing, a child to express, you are giving that opportunity to, each and every child, and there is no divide. So that, a teacher also needs to be trained that, well, I'm open to this idea. I will accept, whatever is the child giving. So equal opportunity should be given. I think that is what our NEP is saying.
I think the vision is always about giving them equal opportunities. If you don't, then you're not being fair to children.
Yes.
And the reason for having smaller sizes in the classroom is also to be able to reach out to the last child. And I think, I read somewhere that the child who needs you most also repels you the most. So you don't reach out to that child who has a problem because you feel that, this is a difficult child. I don't want to touch this child because he does something to me. He disturbs me, my mind. So these are the challenges that we have in our classrooms, and they're going to increase. With this pandemic, emotional problems and these kind of things are on the increase, and they will increase. We are dealing with parents who can't handle, the kind of situation that they have been forced into right now. So that's the balance that we need to keep. And experience is the only thing that will give them that balance. The connect that we build with our children, the emotional connect that we build with our children. I don't think I can teach a class where I don't have a connect with the children that I'm teaching. I teach, and I'm happy as teaching. Even today I teach. And I think that when you teach and you connect to the children, that's when you influence them. That's when you are able to touch them, and it's so, so important to be able to touch the children, to make them connect with you, and to bring about a change. Just making them get that 100%, 90% is not going to change their nature. It's not going to build character, So yes, we keep talking about cutthroat society and, cutthroat competition, all kinds of things. But I think we are overdoing those things. We can let a child think that, I'm so interested in playing that tabla, and I want to spend time playing that tabla every day. I'm so interested in it. we should be able to give that confidence to that child. You can make yourself a Zakir Hussain if you play that tabla with real mindfulness and with real interest. That's what it is all about.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Quick closing remarks by Suchitra ma'am and probably Revati Krishnan ma'am. Just 10 seconds. Ma'am, unmute.
Your mic, Suchitra. Your mic is on mute.
To wind up, yes, everyone's really dealt with every bit. There were a few questions. I'll just, before that one-liner answer, there was a question on physical education. It is better we deal with what the situation is. Now it is not possible for us to bring the children to school. So let us concentrate on what we can do now.
They can always do their physical education at home. Go for cycling,
yes,
go out for a long run.
We
whatever.
are teaching. In fact, if you children are engaging, their parents are engaging time with their children to play badminton, to do gardening, as ma'am was saying. So let us not talk of what's not happening right now. This is the other thing is about the teachers training. I think, yes, we've always been doing it. We are agreeing to the fact that teachers training is something which we need to have a constant, as sir was also saying, that there has to be a constant curve in educating the teachers to keep up to the pace of the changes. Not that they were not trained or they did not know, but yes, to keep up to the changes, because every day we are learning something new, because we are actually dealing with the future generation. So we have to keep ourselves updated. And I think, once again, I'll just wind up saying that education policy that has come up is an excellent one. Rather than looking into what is not there, let us look into how much we can implement, how much better, because there is a framework that is given. So we need to develop it, and we need to see how it can be implemented for the requirement which is just in front of me. So I think with this thought, we should be progressive enough, and we should be doing things which will be definitely benefiting the students. That's all.
Revati ma'am, closing remarks, please.
Yeah, I'm going to say that while the NEP is very comprehensive and brought out very well presented, covering all aspects of education, let us remember that the success of it will lie in its implementation.
Absolutely.
How are all the different states going to implement it? How are they going to interpret it and then implement it is where the crux of success lies. So I think it's so important for us to remember that. Two is that in the process of experimentation, every school will face a lot of challenges, but that's a part of life. And the fun of running a school with the challenges is what takes you to become, differentiates you between a principal and a leader.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dattati ma'am, closing remarks, please. Unmute, ma'am. Ma'am, you're muted.
Your mic is on mute, ma'am.
Thank you. I think NEP is all about transformation. I think this transformation is for each and every person, be it management, be it teachers, be it principal, be it students and parents. Through this transformation, I think whatever is there in NEP, that can move forward, and I think it'll be successful.
Brenda ma'am, closing remarks, please.
I am an optimist. So I really believe that if the NEP is implemented in phases and all the stakeholders are given the training, it is one of the best things that can happen to our country. And I really hope, wish and pray that the implementation happens really in the right way, because there are a lot of good things in this new education policy. A few things we will, of course, have glitches as we implement it. But I think we should have the wherewithal to, face those challenges and get over them. But I think it's a good step ahead. And if it is implemented in phases and all of us are trained really well, then our country will go ahead in a different direction altogether. And it's very, very important that we do remember that Indian aspect that has been brought into it. That is important. While we do have a lot of other aspects that have been probably taken from an international framework, like application and things like that. But besides all that, there are things about knowing your own culture and knowing your own regions. And I think this is important. We really need to do that.
Thank you so
It's
much,
an
ma'am.
educational revolution.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure when I interact with you. There's so much to learn. I feel that my learning curve is also pointed upwards. And I must admit that whatever we spoke today, we have really worked in creating a wonderful QS IGAUGE school rating methodology, be it emotional intelligence skill, be it experiential learning, or be it continuous professional development, or be it, envisioning how a skill development center could be institutionalized in a school. We have put up a methodology, and I will be sending out this methodology to all of you, and I wish to have a personalized discussion with all of you. But thank you so much for being part of this ending panel. I would now invite Ms. Prachi Mishra to extend a word of thanks. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Paddy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I extend my gratitude towards Professor T.V. Katimani, Mr. Nunzio, Dr. Ashwin Fernandez, Professor Paddy for the excellent moderation of the session, and our esteemed panelists, Mrs. Bratati Bhattacharya, Mrs. Brinda Ghosh, Mrs. Revati Srinivasan, and Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya for their valuable time and contribution. The session has been really engaging for all of us. I would also like to thank and congratulate all our team members at QS IGAUGE for their dedicated efforts to conceptualize, develop, and launch the school rating successfully. A special vote of thanks to all the virtual attendees for joining us today to mark this milestone journey in QS IGAUGE. Please visit our website www.igauge.in to request for a copy of the school ratings methodology. And to stay updated with the activities, events, and new initiatives of QS IGAUGE, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and visit our website for more information. So we really look forward to connecting and engaging with all of you. And thank you so much for your presence today and have a great evening.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend my word of thanks to Prachi. A wonderful presentation, Prachi, and thank you so much for moderating the extending the word of thanks and being part of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Paddy.
Thank you.
In an honor.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Prachi.
Thank you.
And Ashwin also, thank you.
Pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a
Signing off.
great day. Be safe.